Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Employee Gets Fired Over Turkeys, a Thanksgiving Special. After that, Revenge on the Low-Life Landlord who first deprived us of heat and later kept our security deposit. After that, Entitled Man and his entitled girlfriend want his mom to buy him a house that she won't be allowed to live in. After that, Officer in an airport. And after that, Entitled Bus Driver. Now Karen told me if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, she won't try to get anyone fired for a whole week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. By the way, become an official channel member today and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. Employee Gets Fired Over Turkeys, a Thanksgiving Special. I'm a manager at an airport bar/restaurant for a company that subcontracts restaurant services in airports in several cities. Every year, at least since I started 2 years ago, my company gives out turkeys to the employees. And these aren't scrawny little birds either. These are 12 to 15 pound turkeys, good for 8 to 10 people. My company gives these out for free, easily knocking $50 from the Thanksgiving food budget just as a thank you for working for the company. So picture a large freezer connected to a larger prep kitchen where pizza dough and pasta are made inside. Inside the freezer, one of the sides has boxes of turkeys. Now, if you wanted a turkey, all you had to do was go into the freezer and grab one. Then, before you leave, there is a clipboard with a pen. On the clipboard is a roster of the employees working in that terminal. Find your name and sign your signature, saying you got yours and the date. That's it. The key to this was that the turkey giveaway was based on the honor system. Company probably expected that we hired honest adults who understand the 1 per employee rule. More's the pity for them. We've been giving turkeys out for the last 2 weeks and accidentally found out that someone was taking more than their fair share on the Friday before Thanksgiving. My boss, the terminal director, and the executive head chef, not my boss, but on the same level as the terminal director, called all the managers and chefs to this kitchen for a meeting concerning the schedule for Thanksgiving week given to us by the airline. As we are about to get started, the freezer door opens and a woman comes out with 2 turkeys in her arms. She looks at us. We look at her. She doesn't say a word. "Why do you have 2 turkeys?" the terminal director asks, hands on her hips, teacher style. "I was grabbing 1 turkey for me and my friend," this woman replies. It's such an obvious lie. The terminal director asks to see her badge to get her name. Then she looks up her name on the roster. Brenda, fake name. It seems as though you've already got your turkey on X date, and your friend needs to grab their own turkey. She says friend in such a condescending manner. "I thought these were free turkeys," she starts to complain. "These are free turkeys," the terminal director says, "but they are 1 per employee." "Well, if people really wanted these turkeys, they would have gotten them already, right?" Because of course, we should see the logic in her idea. The terminal director tells Brenda to return the turkeys, then asks who is her direct manager. Brenda's manager identifies themselves, and the terminal director says that they are going to need to have a talk later about Brenda. We go about our meeting. I found out today that Brenda and her manager had a talk with HR and the terminal director. Apparently, Brenda had taken 6 other turkeys before trying to take the 2 we caught her with. Don't know if she admitted it or there was evidence that she took the 6. She had tried to play the "I'm just trying to feed my kids" card, but HR and the terminal director weren't having it. And because she was a new hire and hadn't completed the 90 probationary period, she could be let go at will, which she was. I don't know if she actually was going to eat the 6 turkeys she had or was selling/giving them away to people she knew, but her entitlement was ridiculous, believing that because the turkeys were free, she could take more than 1. On a sadder note, the terminal director is considering ending the free turkey giveaway because of this. So, thanks, Brenda. Next, we've got Revenge on the Low-Life Landlord who first deprived us of heat and later kept our security deposit. I was a kid back in the 80s, 2 years out of college when I moved into an apartment by the shore in New Jersey. When the cold weather arrived, There was always the few days when the apartment was cold, we would tell the super, and then the heat would start arriving. One year, the heat started decreasing in February, and inside the apartment was like in the 50s, and we had to start wearing coats. We told the super about it, and nothing happened this time. We wrote the landlord about it, and still nothing. So we checked with an attorney and learned about warranty of habitability and withholding of rents. So yet another certified letter to the landlord, and we start withholding rents. He files a motion to evict us, and we answer with the Marini defense, depositing the withheld monies with the court. The judge finds in our favor for all of the money withheld. We continue to live there because there just aren't many other options as we save for a home. Flash forward to living there for 6 years on the last lease because we are about to buy a home. We write in a clause that we can break the lease with 45 days notice in writing, similar to his 45-day clause. They don't notice it because it's slightly obscured on the top left of page 2, so they sign off on it and return it to me. So, in the middle of the lease, we give the 45-day written notice, make the rent payments, and leave. They don't return our deposit, so we sue for it, demanding double. They sue us for the remainder of the 6 months' rent and refuse to return our security deposit. This is no longer small claims court, but we proceed without an attorney anyway. They are expensive. We arrive at the courthouse, and court forces a round of arbitration. The arbitrator says we will lose in front of the judge and to pay the rent remainderments. We refuse and wait for the judge. While waiting, the landlord's attorney drops by and asks why we didn't take the arbitrator's advice. So we tell him about the clause we wrote in, and he states he saw it too, and that since it was crossed out, it's not part of the deal. We show him our copy of the lease, where it's not crossed out, and his face goes white as a sheet. He makes a call to the landlord, who then offers to properly break the lease with no penalty and return our security deposit in full. We refuse, and we show him the certified letter stating that we would have accepted that deal up until yesterday, but that if you force us to come down to court, we want double damages of the improper withholding of the security deposit. He tries again to reach out to the landlord, but no luck this time. We go to see the judge. He looks at both leases and calls their attorney to the bench. The judge takes our lease and thrusts it towards their attorney and says, "This is the lease in force." Their attorney starts walking around the courtroom like a chick with his head cut off, while I try to laugh as quietly as possible. The judge fines for us for double damages. We receive nothing for a week, and I go back to the courthouse where the clerk says they should pay that judgment immediately and tells us about chattel execution and gives us that form. A couple of weeks pass and a check appears from the landlord. Another month passes and we get a call from the court. We have our money. I told them the landlord had sent a check a while back, so it's all good. She tells us that we should have informed the court that we got the money to stop the chattel execution from occurring. The court sent the sheriff to their offices and confiscated office equipment and sold it at auction to satisfy the judgment. They said don't worry, they will return the money to the landlord. That is the revenge, getting the money and having them experience the abrupt seizing of their assets, of their place of business, having it sold at auction, and then having the money returned to them. Major pro-justice. Next we've got, entitled man and his entitled girlfriend want his mom to buy him a house that she won't be allowed to live in. My grandmother-in-law is one of the sweetest women on earth. The first time I met her, I was incredibly nervous. I was nervous meeting my significant other's entire family, especially since they didn't like any of his exes, but he praises his grandmother like she is the sun that shines down on us every day, so it was a big deal. She just hugged me tight for a few minutes and said she was happy that I made her grandson happy and welcomed me to the family. Her adult son, the entitled man, has always lived with my grandmother-in-law. He's legally blind and it's getting worse every day, and he physically could not live alone. In the next few years, he'll lose sight completely. He collects disability and also works part-time at a bowling alley. Bowling is his passion. And on top of the widow's pension my grandmother-in-law gets, she also gets a check for being entitled man's caregiver. When I first met entitled man, he seemed alright. A little weird, but okay enough. Recently, my mother-in-law drove across state lines to pick up my grandmother-in-law, and she was going to stay with my mother-in-law through the holidays. When mother-in-law got there, entitled man's girlfriend, who I will call entitled girlfriend, met my mother-in-law outside and immediately started talking mad crap about my grandmother-in-law. Entitled girlfriend said that grandmother-in-law was controlling and stole all of their money. Now, entitled girlfriend works part-time and is still in college, so I guess I can understand how she might feel that money is a bit tight. But my grandmother-in-law does not ask for a lot of money. They don't pay rent, they just pay $200 for groceries every month. $200 might sound like plenty for two adults, entitled man and entitled girlfriend, for 1 month. But if you've ever done grocery shopping for yourself, you know that you really have to stretch it to make that $200 last. They give grandmother-in-law their shopping list, and if anything on the list goes over the $200 they've given her, grandmother-in-law has to pay for it with her own money. When entitled girlfriend was saying all of this to mother-in-law, she kind of looked at entitled girlfriend and said, you know that's my mother, right? Entitled girlfriend shrugged and said something along the lines of, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that she's kinda just, not that great of a person. My mother-in-law was at a loss for words and didn't really say anything to her or entitled man when she got grandmother-in-law and left. On the car ride back over state lines, my mother-in-law told grandmother-in-law about the conversation and asked what it was all about. Grandmother-in-law launched into a long story that I will try to summarize as best I can. I don't know the exact dialogue that was passed back and forth between the two parties, so I'm just taking what grandmother-in-law told me and putting it together in a nice convo format. Basically, it all started when grandmother-in-law started looking for a new car. She loves the one she has now, but it's old and falling apart. So at this point, it would just be more cost-effective to buy a new one. Entitled man wasn't happy about this, and he and entitled girlfriend sat down with grandmother-in-law and told her this. We don't want you to get a new car. It would take away funds for the house we're planning to get. Grandmother-in-law was pretty confused. What house? Entitled man said, entitled girlfriend and I want you to buy us a house. Before grandmother-in-law could respond, entitled girlfriend interjected with, but you wouldn't be allowed to decorate or make any of the rules for the house. Frankly, we don't even really want you to live there, but we'd still need you to pay for the mortgage. Excuse me? Grandmother-in-law couldn't believe what she was hearing. Entitled man kept going. Legally, like on paper, I would still live here though. Otherwise, I would lose out on money. Entitled man claims that the check my grandmother-in-law gets for being entitled man's caregiver is his money. Technically, he's correct, but he wouldn't be losing it if he didn't live with grandmother-in-law anymore. Either she would still get it, because as a mother, she would surely still help to take care of him, or it would be combined with his already existing monthly check. Or entitled girlfriend would get it, as she'd be the only other adult in the household to claim the title as his caregiver. Entitled man is the youngest of grandmother-in-law's 3 kids, and though entitled man isn't her favorite, she doesn't have favorites, she does have a special connection with him. Around the time she got pregnant with him, grandmother-in-law was into drugs, as were a lot of other people during the era. She blames herself for all of entitled man's medical problems, even though the doctors said it was a possibility that they could have been genetic, as she too had a few medical problems running in her family. While she was in labor, she almost lost entitled man due to complications, so grandmother-in-law thought him to be her miracle child. She's never been controlling and has always encouraged entitled man to be independent despite his setbacks. She never coddled him, never suffocated him under her constant lock and key. He's actually incredibly smart, with a genius level IQ, and at times pretty funny. When my significant other was telling me all of this, I was honestly pretty shocked. I don't know entitled man very well, but it was still surprising to hear that he was basically kicking grandmother-in-law to the curb. Hey mom, I know that you carried me in your womb, brought me into this world and raised me and loved me, but I'm gonna need you to buy/make payments on a house for my girlfriend and I. Also, you're not allowed to live there. Oh, and one more thing. Forget you. Sure, grandmother-in-law has made some mistakes during the course of her life. Who hasn't? But she's owned up to those mistakes and has paid her dues. She's been through a lot in her life. My significant other's whole family has been. Entitled girlfriend has been through some crap too, if the stories she's told are true, that is. But reaching/overcoming obstacles in life doesn't give you any excuse to be a crappy person. It definitely doesn't excuse you trying to convince your boyfriend to kick his 70-year-old mother out of her own house. Because honestly, I don't think any of this would have happened if it weren't for entitled girlfriend. Grandmother-in-law isn't going back home until after Christmas, but when she does, you bet your butt that she's getting herself a new car and her own condo without entitled man and entitled girlfriend. Next we've got officer in an airport. This didn't happen to me personally, but to a very close friend of mine on his way home to visit. My childhood best friend was coming home to visit from the military. He's stationed in San Diego. He had sent me a text message to inform me that they had gotten back from their 5-month deployment, had gotten approved for some leave time, and he had just bought a plane ticket home and would be coming home the next day. I just so happened to be home on leave myself, and so he asked me to come pick him up from the airport. My friend hadn't told his parents about the trip home as he wanted to surprise them. My friend took his first flight, if I remember correctly, to Chicago, where he had about a 4-hour layover. Now, he wanted to surprise his family in uniform, so he decided to bring his recently pressed and cleaned dress whites in his travel garment bag. When he landed in Chicago, he knew he had time to kill, so he decided to get some lunch and find his gate so he would be ready for his next flight. He got himself comfortable at his seat by the gate and struck up a conversation with a Marine who had just graduated boot camp from Paris Island and was on his way home to visit his family. Now, my friend has been in the Navy for about 5.5 years and is a lieutenant, 03. He asked what flight the Marine would be going on and found out they were both catching a flight to Minnesota. After a short amount of time talking, he asked the young Marine if he would watch his belongings so he could get changed into his uniform. The Marine agreed, and my friend got changed and quickly came back to his seat. As the flight approached, the flight attendants prepared to open the gate for passengers, and friend had gotten up ready to board. Military, more often than not, gets to board before other passengers, so he stood close to the front of the line. He notices a well-dressed man and who seems to be his wife arguing with the flight attendant at the counter about the first-class seats that were available. There were 3 available, and the couple wanted to catch an earlier flight. The attendant said they had to wait until all passengers scheduled on the flight were boarded, then they could give them the seats. The man became very angry and began to raise his voice to the attendants. After some back and forth arguing, the wife noticed my friend and immediately storms up to him. "Lady, are you really going to let your flight attendants treat us like this? Do people know who we are?" My friend was confused about why she was asking him, considering he was wearing an all-white uniform and the pilots had a white top and black pants. My friend, "Ma'am, I can't help you. I'm not who you think I am." The woman scoffs. "Of course I know who you are. Did you think I'm stupid? It's your plane. You decide who boards." My friend, "Ma'am, I'm not a pilot. And even if I was, I don't think that's how it works." "Don't lie to me. I know you're a pilot. You're wearing the darn uniform. The things on your shoulders prove it. You can't trick me." My friend, "These are shoulder boards, and it means I'm an officer. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm a pilot." At this point, the man at the counter finally gave up trying to argue with the flight attendants and noticed that his wife was arguing with my friend. He realizes that his wife is mistaking my friend for someone he's not and interjects into the conversation, attempting to calm his wife down. This is simply making her more irate as she now starts shouting at my friend. My friend, "I don't know why you're getting angry at me. You initiated the conversation and made yourself look dumb." "How dare you talk to me like that? I have been flying with this airline for 20 years. Bet your butt I'm going to tell your boss how you talked to me." Man, "We need to go. Now." Woman, "No, forget you. I'm not letting this punk talk down to me. What's your boss's name? I want to know right now." My friend doesn't hesitate to pull out his skipper's contact card and says, "Here's the number to his office. Tell him Lieutenant says hello." By this point, she had her phone out and was dialing the number when security showed up. Security told my friend to go ahead and board so he would not miss his flight. As he walks up to the counter, the flight attendant says to him that they've upgraded his flight to first class, free of charge. My friend asked if they could do the same for the young Marine that was boarding with him. The attendant agreed and announced on the intercom to thank them for their service and congratulate them with the upgrade to first class. My friend said the look on the woman's face was priceless as he walked through the gate. Instant karma for a horrible person. Next we've got Entitled Bus Driver. Okay, I know the title might have caught you a little off guard because normally it's the bus drivers who save the day. But I think today she was the enemy. Characters. We've got me. We've got Entitled Bus Driver. We've got Chris, friend. Not his real name, just a nickname. We've got Josh, another friend, nickname. We've got Alyssa. We've got Elsie. And we've got Teacher's Pet. He comes in near the end. So a little backstory. Me and my friends usually take the bus home from school. We always have the same bus driver every time, and most of the time she's chill. But today, I guess, was different. Yeah, she's had to tell us to keep it down and be quiet, but we're teenagers. We're gonna be loud anyways. But now into the story. It was a normal day, and Elsie and Alyssa's stop was coming up. So Alyssa got up. Elsie was already standing and went towards the door. Then Elsie went behind her, and Chris was walking towards them, I believe to sit down in their spots. He then took a misstep and stumbled forwards. I grabbed him for a moment, then let go because I thought Josh had got him. Chris lurched forward because of the bus stopping and slammed into Elsie, who then hit Alyssa, causing her to fall over. I was in shock and was hoping she was okay, and then the bus driver yelled, Entitled Bus Driver.
That's it. I'm reporting you. Transit security are going to be on the bus again on Monday. I've had it with you guys always causing trouble.
Literally, just us being a bit too loud.
I got it all on video too, so I have proof.
We all sort of just stood there in shock. She then turned to TP and said,
Can I have your first and last name along with your phone number as a witness?
TP. Gladly. She hands him a small piece of paper and he writes it all down. Entitled Bus Driver.
This is going straight to TransLink,
bus service company.
You know they're considering getting rid of this bus because of you? You'll all be walking home.
Which I seriously doubted because you can't shut down a whole bus route because of one little accident. I considered telling her it was an accident, but I didn't want to get into a fight and possibly kicked off the bus. And peace was returned to the valley once more. So I'm kinda conflicted if she was entitled or just mad. Your opinion? And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Hobo Joe, Off-Road Boy, Zoya, and Shadow Warlock. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many Rees as you can in the comments below.